Hey Brick Bloggeteers, Will here, and today we're looking at set 910010, the Great Fishing Boat. Now this is one of the sets from the Bricklink Designer Studios. This is the last one I got. I never got the Kakapo set, so this is the last one I'll be reviewing. It is important to note that any of these sets only come with a single sheet of paper that directs you on how to go and download the app to do the building. You can go on to the link. Now they do have a PDF so that you can print out the entire instructions if you don't want to build with the app. However, I do recommend using the app because unfortunately when it comes to the designers, some of the builds and where the part placement isn't the clearest. Here's the fishing boat. Now the end result looks okay. You have a nice color scheme with the crew and the captain on the front. Now you can take the roof off the pilot house to get into where the steering is. And you can play around with the cranes where you see the crab cage as well as some of the crates in the front. Now I'm having to be very, very delicate with this because structurally, this is not a very good set. There are a number of instances, especially in the hull, that are very, very weak points. When it comes to the curve at the bottom of the hull here, and then where you start seeing it flare out right around here and goes to the front, these are all wraparound connections and they're barely hanging on by clips and bars. Some cases there's some pins, and there's a weird mess of Technic that's not really secured in the front here very well. Let's just say out of all the Bricklink Designer Studio sets that I've built, this one I feel was the poorest thought out when it comes to structural strength. Now, I don't really blame the designer for that because the designers are fans like us and they want to get the highest level of detail. And they do a really good job at making all that happen. In fact, if you look down the beam of this ship, everything looks like it's very sharp when it comes to detail-wise, and that's because everything's built off of an odd number of studs. And that's what I would recommend for anyone trying to do an expert level build, is see and try to figure out how you can do it on odd numbers, because if you can do that, you can bring all your points and detail work to a much thinner line. Now, the problem is in doing that, there are issues where parts are only connected by a single stud. For example, let's talk about this front bow section. Now, this bow section is only connected by 4 major points. There's a clip underneath, right in there. There's a clip on top, but that's a line, so I'm not exactly sure that's adding too much stability. And the 3rd and 4th points are on the sides, and they are essentially ball joints that connect into the sides of the hull. Now that would be fine, except for the fact that the sides of the hull that it's connected into are pretty much floating in place and only kind of sort of connected with a clip and bar inside. And what they rest upon is this whole wraparound section in front that falls off, breaks, and makes you want to chuck the model. So it's not great to pick it up anywhere in the front, so you have to make sure to find the middle section in order to pick up the thing. Some parts in the back are a little okay. It's just this front section is a nightmare, and it's a bigger portion than the back end. Additionally, there is play features underneath the pilot house. There are cots down in the hull of the ship. I'm not showing you that because I'm afraid it's going to break once I start taking things apart. And there are quite a few things to take apart. In order for me to open this up, I will have to disconnect here, here on this side, here on the other side, Then lift up this whole section, making sure it doesn't come apart, and it's actually 6 studs throughout the base in here, before I can finally look into the 2 cots, a small little plant thing, of bottles. It's not enough to go through all that trouble in order for this to work out. So I have pointed out through the article itself a number of weak points that I feel LEGO didn't help the fan designer come in and improve. Because a lot of times when you have specialized formats like this with special shapes, for example, the Titanic ship, LEGO does a really good job at creating Technic frameworks and then building off that so it looks all seamless. This, even though you have a wrap, you have a number of various gaps, and you don't really want to press on them because there's nothing properly supported inside that lets you push out the frame. If anything, there's just areas that it can catch on, and then you start knocking off parts of your hull. So for that reason, I would suggest that because of how high of a price this thing goes for on the secondary market, since only 5,000 were made, this might not be the best set for you to go after. Now, if you're a collector and you want everything, that's a completely different story. This is going to be a rare thing to find. But overall, the general person who likes building, this isn't a great building experience. It's probably something you should pass on. So sadly, that's my opinion of set 910010, the Great Fishing Boat from the Bricklink Designer Studio.